Professor Shibley Telhami. He's the Anwar Sadat Professor for Peace and Development at the University of Maryland. Professor, thank you so much for joining us. What strikes you about the sheer brutality of Hamas, the terror attacks against Israel, especially the civilians there, and its ongoing hold of Israeli hostages who have been brought to Gaza?
You know, when I look at it, Wolf, I'm looking at something horrific in terms of the scale. You are, in those couple of days, there are several hundred Israelis that were killed and thousands who were wounded by the Hamas attack, and then several hundred Palestinians and thousands of people wounded by the Israeli bombings of Gaza. When you look at those numbers, obviously they're stunning by any measure, and you ask yourself, what's the ratio of civilians to military? We don't know the actual ratios, but we know from the past. We know from the past that overwhelmingly they tend to be civilian on both sides. And that is shocking and that is painful. And that's what I say, that should be front and center. There is no cause, even a just cause, that could justify targeting civilians or recklessly endangering them. And we need to be very careful with that. And I say this because, you know, the President of the United States called the Prime Minister of Israel during the first day to assure him, because obviously the Israelis are feeling very vulnerable, very weakened. They're witnessing helplessly when people are being hurt with no capability of addressing it. He made a statement of full empathy and support for Israel. That's good, that's important, but he needs to go beyond that. He needs to speak out that no cause, including the retaliation, justifies hurting civilians. In war times like this, hearts harden. They harden. You can hear people in Israel saying, do what it takes, you know, carpet, bomb, whatever it takes. You certainly can hear that on the Palestinian side after 56 years of occupation, saying, do what it takes. No, I think we need to be clear. We need to speak with a moral authority, and we need to do it soon, because I don't think anything justifies targeting or recklessly endangering civilians.
You're an expert, Professor, on the region. Do you see this war that's ongoing right now escalating and getting so much worse?
There's always a danger, Wolf. I mean, obviously, the danger is, of course, the escalation on the ground. Frankly, Israel has a capacity to bomb Gaza and kill a lot of people, including Hamas people and militant people. But that's not going to solve the problem. And that's obviously the dilemma. Whether Israel goes in or doesn't go in, it's a political problem. It's not a military problem in the end. So we're looking at something sustained because the pressure in Israel is mounting to do something on a big scale, and the Prime Minister of Israel has been threatening that on a large scale. But if you're the United States saying, we're going to support you, do whatever you want, and the public saying, do what it takes, and you look at the fact that this government had failed to anticipate. I mean, we're not talking about a major army. We're talking about a limited group under the observation of the Israeli military and intelligence. The fact that they could do something on this scale, that is a huge failure. And you could see in Israel, there's a debate about whether they even trust the military, whether they even trust the government. Should we trust them to do the right thing at this time, given that we know that we're ministers who are far right, who don't even have military experience?
But in the process, Professor Telhami, how concerned are you about the Palestinian civilians in Gaza as a result of what Hamas is doing?
Well, obviously, the civilians are always, they're the first when even if there is some relationship to a military target. We know that civilians are going to be, it's a very densely populated area, we know you and I don't have to determine what the targets were because we don't have the capacity from the outside, but we know from the numbers, right? From the numbers in the past that the majority of those who get killed in the bombings are civilians. Human rights organizations across the board, Israeli, international, have been critical of that. And obviously have been critical of the Hamas attacks on civilians constantly, for sure. So we need to be mindful of that. But in terms of expansion, Wolf, I mean, obviously the big question, Hezbollah. I mean, that is real big question. It's not even Iran directly. I think that's remote. I mean, the question is whether Hezbollah gets drawn into this fight. And obviously that's the worry for Israel because Hezbollah is far better armed and more effective than Hamas. And if it gets drawn in to a northern front, that could be very, very troubling and makes the war more difficult. But it's also would be very troubling for Lebanon. Lebanon could be devastated. This is not something that Lebanon needs right now. And I don't think Hezbollah is looking for a fight, but nonetheless, they could be drawn into one.
Yeah, my own fear is that this war is only just beginning. Professor Shibley Telhami of the University of Maryland, thank you so much for joining us.